Welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be creating a carousel. So generally speaking, not many people go ahead and create their own carousel. You'll generally find many libraries that do it. If you've used jQuery, there's tons of libraries there with jQuery that do this. But we're going to create a zone today. So let's begin. First things first, I have 3 images. And we're going to start out by creating index.html. And I'm just in the folder here of a carousel, so it's going to be dead simple. There's no React, there's no Vue, there's nothing. I'm going to say HTML. That did not work. That's a head, and then we need a link, which is going to be a style sheet href styles, let's call it. And then it should be fine. Body, we'll give this a class of carousel. And we're going to need some carousel items. So carousel items are essentially going to be the slides, so the images. It's probably easier to visualize if let's make this a bit bigger. How is it, by the way, in 4K? Is it better? I'm not too sure. We'll have to see. Div class carousel, let's say item. We need 3 of these, so we can go boom, boom, boom. There we go. And then we need some images. So set images 1, 2, 3. Boom. There we go. So now we've got a base for a carousel, such as we've got the items on the page. We're going to need some actions, so like buttons. The buttons are going to be fairly simple ones. I don't intend to make them too complex. Let's see, div class carousel. Actions. Set button, and the button's going to be, we're going to need 2, so we're going to need a next and a previous. So we'll call the first one, I'm always having to copy carousel because I doubt I'm going to spell that correctly. Set button and then to next, previous, sorry. Next, and then you're going to need aria labels, because what I intend to do here is for previous, I'm just going to say, give it an arrow. And then I'm going to give it a less than and a greater than. So it's just going to look like it's going left or right. And we can see this now. There we go. Cool. We could always just put previous slide. I guess that could work too. If you do choose to go with previous slide, if you do choose to go with the arrows, like the arrow on the screen now, you'll need an aria label, because when a screen reader reads this, it'll try to read out the arrow and it makes no sense. So you have to do at least apply an aria label of previous slide, like so. Aria label previous slide, and then do the same for the next one. Did you see that? There you are. You can grab that. There it is, aria label. Okay, that looks good. Pull this over. Now we're gonna have to, of course, come down here. We need a script tag, which is gonna say script source app.js. And then with a carousel, you don't want all the items showing, right? So you're gonna have to apply something here, which will basically say show this carousel item first. And we'll get rid of all the others. So we're going to get rid of these by using CSS, but with the visible here, visible, right? Yeah, with the visible here, we're going to keep this one. So we have carousel actions, we have items, and let's see. Yeah, we have the buttons, okay. So now we need styles.css. And I'm just going to go back in here, copy this carousel, and I'll give it an overflow of hidden. See where we're at? Cool, we're at the same position. Now we have to set a max width for the carousel and we don't want it to overflow. That's why I've got overflow hidden on there. I'm just going to say 1000. See how that looks? Cool. Of course there's no differences just yet, and if you check the container width here, that's 600. So if the images are 600 and I've got 1000, it makes more sense to use 600. So we'll put that down here. And then I want to set position relative, and the reason position relative is going to be on there is because, well, why is it? Oh, because you want to put the buttons inside the carousel, which they already are, but on top of the slides. And we can use position relative, and then we can use absolute positioning for the buttons to bring them up relative to the content of the carousel. Okay, so next, items. We'll say carousel dot carousel item, and then carousel dot carousel hidden. And we're eventually going to hide the items by applying classes on there when you click next. So I'm just going to say for now, display none, and that should get rid of everything if we refresh. Cool. The next bit is, let's grab that. I'm going to get the images and I want them to be responsive. So I go up and down, and the way to do that in CSS is to set a max width of 600 because that's what we're using here. And that's the size of the image, right? So 600 is our image. And then I'm just going to say width 100%. So it'll go from 0 to 100%, but that max width will always be at 600. Height, we'll set auto. Nothing just yet, and that's fine. Now, if we refer back to this here, we want to now show the first item. And to do this, we'll set carousel visible, display block. Boom, there we go. So we're in somewhat of a good position at the moment. God, the fans on these Macs are crazy. What's next? Actions. So we need to get the actions on top of the, well, inside the container. So to do that, get the carousel, and then we'll say carousel calm down there. Actions, display flex. And why am I using display flex? Well, I want to justify the space in between the buttons. So go previous here, next here. And to do that, what would you use? Justify content, space between. Cool, now that looks good. Okay, so this is where the positioning comes in. So we'll change that to absolute. And now we've changed that to absolute, we can push it up. And to do that, 50%. Okay, it looks good, and those with a design eye will realize that is not exactly in the middle. The reason it's not exactly in the middle is because top does not take into consideration the size of the buttons, which is sat within the action. So if you have 30 pixels, it could be off by 30 pixels. Now there's a little trick to make sure that it's vertically aligned, and we can say transform, translate, transform, translate y minus 50%. Boom, see, that's directly in the middle now. See where we currently are at, that looks good. Buttons, so let's do some magic with the buttons at least. Let's make them look somewhat presentable. Button. You can put these or make these as you wish, you know, make them orange, make them green. I'm just going to say the usual suspect here is border radius 50 pixels, so then you'll get the nice corners. There we go. You can see it has, I think, it has a border on there. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Yep, I got rid of it. Font weight bold would be good. That looks good. And then let's see. Oh, just realized the spacing's gone for the justify. Now to fix that, do 100%. So I imagine if I inspect that, let me zoom in, pull this over, and I'll show you why. So I haven't clicked save on this just yet, this bit here, but you see here the actions, they're not 100%, and when you apply absolute, it'll take, you know, just be like, okay, this is a size, I'm just going to give it that size, and there we are. That should fix that. See, applying the 100% width there. Cool. Now that looks pretty good. Now I'm actually going to go back and change these. Take that off there and set area label previous slide, because I don't want the text really. It doesn't look that good. Area label, next, refresh. Okay, that's looking better. Now the buttons don't have a pointer, and normally you want a pointer when it comes to buttons, right? You want it to seem like you're going to click on it. So add a pointer on there. I'll say width 40, height 40. There we go. And you don't want the buttons so close, right? So you see how I've got the IDs here? The reason we've got the IDs is because we're going to use JavaScript to target these, but we can be cheeky and let's grab that. And this one, target it by its ID. We'll just set margin left 20 pixels and grab the same one and put that to next. And I have messed up somewhere because that's not moving. Carousel button next. Let me see. Oh, right. Okay, that looks good. Now you're probably asking, why didn't I just apply the margin on both of the buttons like this? Margin 0, top and bottom is the first argument, 20. And we'll comment that out and see why. So if you look here, you see how it's got the orange on the left and right. Well, it's unnecessary margin. We don't need it, and nor do we need it over here. So that's why I didn't do this, and instead I went with this. I inspect, and there we are. We just have the margin where we want it. Cool. So I think we're in a pretty good position. Let's see. Yeah, I think we are. We can come back and add animations or whatever. Not a new folder. What did I call the app? App.js. And now for app.js, this is where it gets a bit trickier. So slide position currently is going to be at 0. Now we want to get all the slides, so say const slides document.get element by ID, carousel. Actually, no, not by ID, because what did we call it? Oh, carousel item. So we want to get all the carousel items. There's 3 of them, 2 are hidden. So we'll say get elements by class name. I think I need to pull this over a bit. There we go. I'll say const total slides equals slides.length, console.log total slides. Boom, 3. Cool. Can you see that? There we are, 3. And we should have 3 elements. HTML collection. We can turn that into an actual array. And it's an array-like object right now, but we want to turn it into something that we can iterate over. Anyhow, let's move on. We'll say document, what we're going to target here. Let's target this. And it's funny because I've recently recorded this carousel for Scrimba. So I'm sure you all, most of you are aware that I do videos over at Scrimba. And very recently I did this one. So now we'll say when someone clicks the next button, just give me a console log. Come on. Hello. Boom, it works. Cool. So now we set update slide position. That does not exist at the moment, but that's fine. Let's say move to next slide. Would we move to next slide? Let me think. Possibly. Let's just leave that in there for now. We might not even need that. Document dot. We can probably copy this. Actually, I say move to next slide. Move to previous. You could actually use here. I wonder what you could use. I know what you could use. You could probably take in some sort of argument here that passes it down, so you wouldn't need two separate functions. But instead, let's be lazy and create two separate ones. Previous. So now we need this. So it's a function. Move to next slide. Hello. Previous slide. Hello next. Hello previous. Oh, it works. Perfect. Okay, so we kind of have something going now in terms of when the button gets clicked, we're aware of what's going on. So next, what we need to do is, well, we need to figure out the next slide position. But what's important is that we're aware of where we currently stand in the slider, right? So if you click next, we need to increment. And when I logged out slides, you remember it starts from 0. And the slide position starts from 0. So let's say here, if slide position, which is currently 0, as you see, is equal to total slides, which is 3, minus 1. Put the slide position to 0. Okay, so what just happened? So why did I not just do if slide position is equal to total slides? Well, slide position starts at 0. Total slides, let's log that out, goes from 1 to 3, right? It doesn't go from 0 to 3 or 0 to 2. Like when you have an array, it starts from 0, but when we do .length, it's just going to say, yes, you have 3 items. But in reality, we do have 3 items, but we start from 0, so the count's different. So you go 0, 1, 2, and you have 3 items. But if you check the slide position against 3, it's not going to exist. Because the slide position, let's actually, you know what, I'll demonstrate. And by the way, this here is checking if you're at the end of the slides. So it's a slide position, and if we're not at the end, you want to update the slide position. Let's see what happens. Okay, no happens. Perfect. Okay. Function update slide position. Let's see. When we want to update the slide position here, I guess we could pass in, let's see. Yes, if we're going to update the slide position, we want to go through all the slides, and then we want to add or remove. But before we do this one, let's just jump into this. So whilst this slide position is equal to 0, that means we want to set the slide position to total slides minus 1. So if you click back, you go from 0 to the last slide. the last slide will be 2 because you got 2, 1, 0. Then, if it's not the previous slide, and say for example we're at 2, we want to keep going back down, right? So we're going to decrement. That looks good. So move to next slide, and I think we can call this in here. And this is basically just going to update the slides, and we can basically play around with position. So let's just go ahead and attempt, and we'll say 4. And by the way, this is not in the essence of a traditional for loop. You can just say for let slide of slides. And then if we console.log out slide, you have all the free slides, which is coming from a HTML collection of slides. So once we have that, we want to say slide.classlist.remove carousel item visible. So we're going to go through all the slides, remove the visible because we no longer need it. If we're on the first slide, we click next, we want to remove it, and it's just going to do us a favor and remove it from all of them. Next, we want to add on to the current slide, which would be hidden. I think that's right. Okay, we've added hidden. Is that right? For let slide of slides, slide class remove visible. So it removes visible, and then it's going to go through and add hidden. Why? Am I reading this right? 4 slides for each slide. Remove carousel item visible. Yeah, so you'd want to remove the visible. Then you'd want to add on hidden. Would you? What's hidden do? Hidden. Let's just go display none. Oh, silly me. So now when they're all hidden, right? So we remove visible, we hide everything, then we say slides, slide position, which is going to say, okay, now if we're at 0, get rid of that. Within the slide collection, say we go from 0 to 1, we go slides, this could be 1, slide position, class list.add this here. Boom. Oh, close. Oh, okay. I think we're running into the issue here. Let's just put -1 on. So it doesn't seem to be doing it until you hit. Now I wonder if slide position. Oh, okay. You'd want to update the slide position here. Let's see. Yep. Perfect. Okay. I think that's right. Remove the errors. So now let's test this. So you see here, slide position is 0 right now. Total slides is 3. So now if I click, slide position's 1. Slide position's 2. Now in our slides, there's 3, but we're at position 2. And now we're going to try access position 3, which doesn't exist because you're going 0, 1, 2. So it's going to error. Boom. So now we just want to do that calculation and say -1. So it'll go from 0, 1, 2, and then it'll do the job, hopefully. So we're at 0, 1, 2, boom. Perfect. It works for this one too. And what did I do here? Why did I set that to 0? That's not right. Did I do that there? Copy and paste. Total slides -1. So if slide position is 0, which it is here, let me refresh. It's at position 0 now. it's going to go back and say total slides -1, which will take us to 2. And then when it does the update, this will be 2, which will be the last one. There we go. Perfect. So, I mean, I think we're in a good position. That's pretty much all you have to do, really, for the JavaScript to create a simple slider. How about we add some CSS to do like maybe a nice transition? So maybe we can use a keyframe. Let's see. How would we do a keyframe? And what would we even apply it on? So when this becomes visible, I guess, we want to do an animation. And this is not always visible, right? Because we add it here. So when it appears, we can probably do animation. Let's see what that takes. Animation. Short on property combines 6 of the elements in a single property. Okay, I don't know what that means. And we'll call something like fade visibility 0.5. So now what we need is keyframes. I haven't used them that much, honestly. Well, define a set of animations. So does anyone ever use Flash? Way back in the day where you'd set keyframes at each point, or if you use what else could you use for this? Photoshop, if you're creating animations, GIFs, whatever it may be. And we'll just call it fade visibility. And keyframes go from 0 to 100 on range, so we can say 0%, opacity 0. Would it be opacity 0? Yeah, it would, because it appears, then the opacity is 0. And then we'll say 100. And we'll stick that to 1. Transform, opacity, linear. I think that'll work. There we go. And that's it. That's a carousel in JavaScript, CSS, and some basic HTML. Pretty pleased, it's good. But yeah, I did it on Scrimba. I've kind of forgotten most of it by now. But I think it's good. I mean, it's very easy to become a really good JavaScript developer. Man, it's 1 AM, I need to sleep, but I can barely talk. It's really easy to become, over the years of having lots of experience, a good JavaScript developer, maybe a senior, and never create a carousel. So here it is. That's a carousel. Last bit, let me show you. Let's see it working one last time. There you go. I'll upload the code somewhere if you want it. Hopefully it made sense. This bit's a little tricky where you're doing the index positioning, but apart from that, it's fine. Anyhow, yep, it's 1 AM, I'm going to bed. Good night.